Hello and welcome to Arcade Couch, the best place to chill with your friends and get your gaming goodness every Monday at 6 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. I'm Ashley Hobley, and joining me here today on the couch is Kieran Marchant.
Hello, Ashley Hobley. Hello, listeners. Before we get into this episode, listeners, if you're having a rough week, if it is doom and gloom, it's okay for you to turn off this podcast and go play some games and enjoy yourself. You don't have to keep listening to the quagmire of how terrible things are.
Whoa. I would say just let it keep playing and have it on mute.
You know what? Do that. Walk away. Play it, walk away, rate it 5 stars.
Or listen to something else in the Explosion Network.
Yeah, say that this was a fantastic episode, but don't listen to it. It's fine. We got you. It's okay.
That's exactly the right attitude for this week because, on today's Arcade Couch, we'll be talking about the end of video games. I think that's the opinion that a lot of people are currently at with what's happened this week. Let's get to the key story, reading from Screen Hub. PlayStation announces it will end physical disc production in 2028, and nobody is happy. In a past long gone, physical game media was lush. You'd get a box, a disc, and even a glossy manual with instructions on how to play, little tidbits about game lore. Sometimes you might even get a map for display or a sticker. In the 2010s, the glossy manual was removed nearly entirely as companies streamlined their physical media releases and cut down on extraneous loss costs. In the 2020s, it's now the humble discs which will face the same fate. As PlayStation recently announced on its PlayStation blog, it will cease production of physical game discs by January 2028. All future releases will be in digital formats only, and if they are released with the box at all, they will simply be empty besides a slip of paper. While PlayStation outlines this move is in response to consumer trends, judging by online reaction, nobody's happy with the decision, with plenty of chatter about its far-reaching implications for consumer, preservationists, retail stores, and beyond. Kieran, obviously last week we talked about GTA 6 going to be a digital-only release. What do you think about PlayStation making this announcement, specifically right after that very poorly received news?
Look, I think PlayStation thought, fuck it, we can just slip this in right now. We can just slip this in here and hope for the best.
They're just hoping to get in the wave of everybody being upset about GTA, but like, we'll just break the bad news here. What's they going to do?
Yeah. Or it's like, oh, people were not so bad about that with GTA. Okay, we'll just pop it in here.
You're already unhappy, so they can't get more unhappy.
Look, I'm very mixed bag, and yes, this is coming from the person that is quote unquote against physical media for the Explosion Network. I do understand I have that persona. I have a mixed bag of feelings when it comes to this one. I think that on one hand, it was inevitable. Like, it's just where it's going. I think it is, on one hand, it's like kind of, you look over the years of Netflix, streaming services, more and more people have now got access to digital platforms and digital providers and shown that those digital platforms work. And let's not beat around the bush with it. Sony would have business analytics and business statistics to say that the large portion of their sales is digital. If it wasn't the case, they wouldn't be doing this. If they didn't already have a good portion of the market already buying all their stuff digitally, they wouldn't do this. And that's where I think the outrage is somewhat, I don't want to say hypocritical, but overblown, because I would suggest that a decent portion of people who are complaining, are having problems with this, have also lessened off their purchasing of physical games and have a part of the ecosystem of buying digital games. And that isn't a bad thing, but it's like you can't both have your cake and eat it too. You can't say to a publisher, hey, I want you to keep making physical games just in case I feel like going and grabbing a disc. Just in case I want to go buy a physical. Doesn't work. If you're someone like Dylan, someone like yourself, Ash, or someone like Buddy, friend of the show, or somebody who is hardcore, buys everything physical, loves having physical media, loves being able to store it, loves having that replayability, loves having the physical item, 100%, you should be upset and annoyed and frustrated. It would be understandable if you decided no longer to be a PlayStation fan. When it comes to the discussion around digital ownership, it looks really bad when Sony announced this within the same week, take 551 movies and TV shows off their digital platform that people have paid for, and said, tough tits, you don't get a refund or anything. This is just gone. Looks real bad when that happens at the
I
same
mean,
time.
yeah, that is maybe that is the worst thing to have had happen before you make this announcement. I feel like obviously video games and movie, like television, film, like they're very different, and obviously there is a licensing element that they just couldn't get around, and like that's a fuck up from the start of this, generation of of owning a license rather than actual copy, and like selling stuff that you won't have access to forever, that they probably shouldn't have done at the start of the move to digital. But I feel like, yeah, announcing at the same time as that was happening, probably not great, because that is going to bring a bunch of things up about ownership. And as far as I've seen, there is very few cases of games being removed from people's libraries.
Yes.
Outside of like some licensed stuff, but
there's stuff that's off the store that you can't go and buy anymore.
Delisted, not like buyable stuff anymore, but stuff hasn't been removed from your library of games.
No,
very often. There's
you can't go and buy Forza Horizon 3 anymore, but you can, if you had it in your library. You
can't buy FIFA 22 or whatever.
Yeah, you can't buy anything with
stolen it from your library.
Yeah, 100%. And look, and some people, it's like, okay, some people are looking at it from like they like to collect and like to resell and like to earn money off it down the track. And I'm like, well, that stuff, I'm like, well, let's just buy and buy. Sorry, pal. Like you can't, like you like for that stuff, I don't feel too much of a remorseful or feel sorry for them, because it's just like I don't see making money off of games is like that isn't a priority for Sony or anybody else who's making the game, that you can have the opportunity to sell your thing back for double later down the track. It does make a mockery, as I mentioned it last week, of the Sony press conference of this is how you trade a game, and then they pass the game case when they're the first ones to actually kill that off completely. I think it's disappointing. I hope that the general market doesn't go down that line. Is it, sorry, this is probably where I haven't looked into it deep enough. Is it just Sony exclusives that they're not doing discs for? Or
they're not making any more discs for any PlayStation games going forward, I think, which is like a key indicator. PlayStation PS6 won't have discs.
Yeah.
Won't have a disc drive, won't have discs. I was surprised. Like one, because physical media is just what you expect. Also, in both music and film /TV, physical media is still very strong, even resurgent. There are record stores popping up, brand new record stores opening up, selling records to people. Like, even though you have almost every song at the touch of your hands with your phone nowadays, people still want to have physical media. I can understand it from like a business standpoint. I think, like you said, like when it comes down to looking on a spreadsheet, what's going to make more sense? I think, they've done the math, and they realize that they would cut a lot of costs and not necessarily take as big a hit by going digital only. I think we just worry how skewed their numbers are, because obviously they're based on digital purchases and that, but how much of that is microtransactions, is games that are on sale. Like, how many actual day one games are they selling as opposed to physical? And is it just, are they looking at the American numbers? Because those numbers are going to be very different here in Australia, where I think, unlike in America, like, you can buy it cheaper on physical. Like in America, I believe a lot of stores just keep it at recommended retail. They don't
Right. Okay.
bring it down like they do in Australia, because here in Australia, they're willing to take that loss of the, well, slightly less profit to get you in the store. You know what I mean? That's the kind of incentive. Like, is there going to be that same kind of incentive if it's just a digital code? You would assume not. Are we going to even have cases anymore? Are you just going to go to a register? They're going to print out a voucher, and that's your game going
I don't
forward.
see them making cases. I don't see them.
It's wild. I think a lot of, like, I've seen a lot of rationale as to why this is a bad move. Obviously, the secondhand market, like, that is how some people are able to play games, or certain games. I think, unfortunately, like, if we're just going to accept that this is going to happen, those people are just going to have to be more patient about when they're
This
going
is
to
the
be able
thing.
to buy the
This is
games
the
they
thing.
want to
I
get.
guess the secondhand market is something that I'm sure companies like Sony, like Microsoft, like Nintendo, all want to kill. They
Yeah,
don't want
absolutely.
secondhand games to be a thing because it's waste. It's double dipping on their products
Yeah.
in a way
Uh,
that they're not getting double out of it. They're
well, yeah,
getting
they're
one
not getting
payment out of it.
their game is getting sold multiple times, but they're not getting any profit from it. So really, they do want to kill that off. But like the game lending elements of it, like, that is, you can't give it to your friend anymore unless they introduce a Steam like system, which is a possibility. I think um, I think a lot of people have mentioned like libraries are a lot of places where people are able to get games and borrow them from there. That will be obsolete, that kind of stuff. Um, but I feel I can't be too angry because, again, we are again going to be talking about a bunch of studios being about to face layoffs or being closures and that kind of stuff. And we're like, we're really going to be upset about them trying to improve their profit line to keep these studios open. Like, we continually talk about how video games are getting more and more expensive to make, and yet we want to only pay the exact same thing that we've been paying for video games for the last 20 years. you know, um, and that kind of thing. I feel like this might also, like, I feel like there's a potential this has been expedited by the fact that components have been so expensive. They don't want to be building a bunch of disk drives in the next generation, and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I also find the ownership thing, that is not a thing that I think about too deeply. I think we talked about it last week. Nobody's going to come and take GTA 6 out of your store if you're never going to lose it. But as someone pointed out, like, what if somebody hacks your account, or or you know you get banned? That's now a whole bunch of games that you can't play that you should have owned and had access to. So I don't know. It's very frustrating. I mean, the only bright side of this thing is they've said it's so far ahead, and everybody can do their best to try and get them to change their mind. And if you want to
Because
try and get Sony to change their mind about this, you can't buy GTA 6 digitally. I think that is the game that you're like,
you have to go and grab it
that
physically.
is the line in the sand. Like, if you're
This
against
is
the move, that is the one that's going to make the biggest impacts.
But the thing
Because they're not
that's
going to look at GTA 6 saying it underperformed sales wise and go, oh, it's because it wasn't a good game or their marketing wasn't good. They're going to go, it's because we chose to not release it physically. But are people going to not buy GTA 6 in protest? I don't think so.
and this is the thing. And this is where was this outrage a decade ago when PC largely stopped providing, like, stopped physical, or like even like I have, so my last 3 PCs, which is generally a 4 or 5 year gap between each PC, has not had a disk drive. I have I have multiple Steam accounts, but my main Steam account at the moment has roughly, if I open it up here, I should have opened this earlier. Why? I think I roughly have access to like 900 games on my Steam account. Like, it is ridiculous. Like, PC and Steam players, like, maybe that's where my point of view comes from, is that I don't. This is just how it's been. Like, this is just how I've had my gaming library, is digitally on an account I log into that has two-factor authentication that I've protected, that I don't do anything dumb on and get it banned. Like, yeah. I think it's just normal. Like, I don't know. Like, for me, it is just a very normal thing.
Yeah. I would say I think the argument against, like, with that is Steam isn't the only option. Like, GOG is an option to get yours with the complete DRM-free games and that kind of stuff. You know, obviously, Epic Game Store is available, and then a lot of the big
Sure,
publishers you can buy direct
that's a fair
from that
point.
kind of stuff. So, with PlayStation, you can only buy your games through the PlayStation Store or redeem your codes through the PlayStation Store. But I think if they make this move, they might not be able to do that anymore. Obviously, there are a bunch of lawsuits currently in the works, like from Epic and other places that are like, we want to be able to, you know, sell our games through not through the PlayStation Store. And if they make this move, I would be very surprised if that is not something that they may have to do down the line, like making them available through other storefronts to not allow them to have a monopoly on their market. So I mean, that could be a positive because obviously a lot of concern is like they're just going to price people out of games completely, and that kind of stuff. So, yeah, I guess. What do you think about the the thought process that I've seen that like this is potentially this is the start of the video game crash that, you know,
Have
nobody's going to be I don't know, everybody's just going to walk away from gaming is the how I've seen
um
people act.
Ashley Hobley, have cinemas shut down? When was the last cinema shut down? Like, when did that stop? Nobody goes to
But
those
I'm
anymore,
sure
right?
some cinemas have shut down, like
No,
small
no,
mom
but
and
when was
pop.
the last one? Because all of them have shut by now, right? Like, streaming's killed cinema, right?
Hmm.
Like, streaming has killed cinema. Like, there's none left, right? I can't go down the street, go to my village cinema that I think is fucking questionable at best because it's in the middle of Shepparton. But still, it's still fucking there. Like, anybody is insane if they think this is going to massively affect anything whatsoever. It's not. Games are still going to be games. We're still going to buy them. Maybe you don't buy PlayStation games, but, you know, it just doesn't. Look, we'll probably see the trend where Microsoft will eventually not do physical games either. But
I think, not to jump too far ahead, but it looks like they are also looking at for the next
yeah,
generation not having
but
physical
it's like
games.
it's just iterations upon the world and what we do, and things change. Fuck, what, 50 years ago a video game didn't exist. There was no such thing as a video game. At some point, sorry, also another hyperbole that I'll fucking put a hyperbole that I'll put out there. Bookshops don't exist, right? We brought out the fucking Kindle and the Kindle app and digital reading and all that shit. Bookstops are dead, right? Sure, they're not as big as they were, but they still exist. People are still buying books. There's still a
Yeah,
book
but the
section.
publishers are not choosing not to sell books. I think, you know.
No, but it's not the case. But it's the thing of there are changes
Yeah,
where, like, the world changes. They give the Kindle option. Sure, they haven't decided to stop printing books, but fuck, it hasn't killed it
but
off.
that's the key word, option.
Option, but the thing is, this is where I question. Of course, we're not on the inside, so I don't know. But if booksellers looked at it and went, you know what, printing books is not worth it. Majority of our people sell, buy everything on Kindle, and it's like they're going to end up doing that. But books aren't built like that. People buy hard copies. People buy hardcovers. They buy fucking soft like paperbacks. And also books have been well established as a thing for centuries. There was probably at some point, and this is me being fucking over the top a little bit. There was somebody back in the day pissed off that the stone tablet was out of existence. Because it was his fucking job to chisel a stone tablet to read. What the fuck do you do now?
Bullshit.
What is this paper bullshit? I'm out of a job now. I can't chisel a piece of stone. It happens. We change. We update. It's humanity. Sadly, it's just part of what we are, is that we are a carnivorous society that is always moving forward and always wanting change for better or worse. And to think this is going to be the end of video games is very short-sighted and very dramatic.
Kind of related to this, where did I put it? Well, I think it's telling that, they're already talking about the next PlayStation from Eurogamer. Sony has seemingly begun setting expectations for how it plans to handle pricing for the PlayStation hardware going forward. The platform holder has revealed it does not intend on taking significant hits to profits to absorb some of the ballooning costs of manufacturing hardware. This was in a Q&A with Sony Interactive Entertainment President and CEO Hideki Nishinoya. Nishinoya was asked about the company's stance on hardware pricing and profitability, particularly when it comes to next generation PlayStation. First regard, hardware is the base of providing the gaming experience by offering products as the PlayStation Portal remote player. We aim to provide experiences tailored to users' play systems beyond the living room, which are traditionally being considered the primary usage environment. As for pricing is not realistic for us to absorb all component costs, and we have already implemented some price increases into outside Japan. The article goes on to say that the next PlayStation. Nishino's comments, however, indicate that we should expect a very expensive PS6. Just this week, a reliable insider said the cost to build a single PS6 console has risen to $960 based on components alone. So I feel like them trying to make more money off software is in response to them not making any money on PS6. And really, I feel like all the discussion about next gen consoles needs to be almost put on hold, possibly stop forever, because I don't think.
Just stop it. Just stop for a bit.
Do we need more?
Somebody deal with the basement dweller AI lovers. Somebody deal with them fucks. Somebody go tell Mr. Microsoft to get the fuck out of here with your fucking AI. Stop taking the RAMs. Yeah, there's got to be something that settles. And I think, unless, of course, because all the companies have probably put X amount of hundreds of millions of dollars into development of these consoles, they can't legitimately put a pause on them. It would be fiscally unreasonable to do so. But at the same time, we're not in a climate where people are going to want to buy them. It's the same thing's happened to the Steam machine, as we talked about last week.
Don't know, because, well, I don't know this for this a fact, but I look at Steam and I look at top sellers, and the fucking Steam machine's there despite it being at $1,600 Australian. Like, people are buying it.
Yeah, people are buying it, but at the same time, it's like people are buying it because it's there.
It's new.
It's
the
new.
thing. So will that be the same thing with the PS6? I don't know.
Yeah.
Here's the article I was actually wanting to bring up. The last remaining factory where Sony was making physical discs is already being repurposed just days after the company announced it was ceasing physical game production. According to OLF Salzburg, a national Austrian outlet, the 300-odd employees at Sony's Thalgau production plant will all keep their jobs in the wake of this news. They will be retrained to create microlenses rather than physical discs. Optical microlenses, for what it's worth, are key components used in managing power consumption, and bandwidth bottlenecks are used in headsets and other devices that require precise light control. So, moving assuming whenever they decide to switch over, they will not have anywhere that makes PlayStation discs anymore. So if they're going to backflip on this, they better do it soon before they can't backflip. Do you think there is a possibility they change their mind based on
Not a chance.
reaction?
Not a chance.
Not a chance.
Not a chance. I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Sony cares. I don't know. I don't think they're going to blink, though. They don't strike me as the company that blinks in this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we've already seen people, canceling PS Plus subscriptions, canceling pre-orders.
Sure. But what happened? Like, the thing is, right? Realistically, what's going to happen is the first time a God of War or a Last of Us or an Uncharted or a first-party Sony title that everybody wants comes out and it's only digital, everybody's just going to buy digitally because people won't want to miss out. And the minority of people that can hold off and not do that isn't going to be enough. I think, it's the same thing as, sure, you're going to be pissed off. You're going to be pissed off now, but God of War Laufey comes out and everybody's going to buy the shit out of that, physically or digitally. And there's not going to be any care factor about the fact that Sony's done this. What people would need to do is start boycotting Sony stuff now. Wolverine needs to be an awful, awful, awful release. Needs to be the worst Sony exclusive single player game in the past 10 years. And it fucking won't be. Because these people
alternatively, everybody buys it physically.
Everybody buys it physically. But people won't.
Yeah, I don't think there's much of a chance of them backflipping on this.
What's going to happen, right? When Sony backflips, everybody cheers, they start publishing physical games again, but then we go back to the same point where you go into your local JB Hi-Fi, your Big W, wherever you get your physical games from, your mom and pop shop, and their shelves look overloaded. Because that's what it is now. Shelves look overloaded.
Do they need to just cut back? Should it be a scarcity thing? Should it be like, hey, we're going to do physical? We're only making 10,000 copies of this game. First run. If it does even better, we might run a second run. But
I think
there's only going to be a set number of games in the world.
I don't think that is.
That still drives people to get it digitally because maybe they won't. It still does, but
at the same time, I don't know if they care enough to do that. Because this is the thing, right? Is these people that we're gonna buy it, and then Sony's gonna be like, so why aren't you paying, guys? We fixed this. Like we put them back as physical. Why aren't you buying physical games? Like that's the thing, right? You're pretty much asking Sony as a company, hey, please don't make money. Please don't make any money.
And the consumer will say, you got to figure it out. Figure out another way to make money.
Exactly, right? And that doesn't happen like that.
No, yeah.
It's unfair. It's almost in some ways, even though they're a capitalistic corporation, it is unfair and ridiculous to ask somebody not to make money for just in case you feel like you're going to buy a physical CD.
Yeah, I feel like obviously, I think it's just this is just an industry-wide problem, and because we are there is a bubble that's going to burst because games are getting too expensive or to make. They're getting too big, and how do you regain those costs? We've seen them try to do the DLC thing, but people get upset about that and that kind of stuff. And they're like, cutting stuff out of my game and all that kind of stuff. Just the studio structure of creating video games and that kind of stuff is so difficult, and it is so widespread that it can't just be poor management. I think I said so. But it seems like people have come up with their own ideas of how to keep their games when they go over to they get rid of physical media. PS5 fans flock to piracy. Sony plans to ditch physical games Reading from Polygon, there is little companies can do to prevent video game piracy, but Sony has just proven there are surefire ways to encourage the practice. The day after the publisher announced it would cease production of physical games in 2028, interest in piracy of its hardware has begun to spike. Early in 2026, rumors spread that hackers had discovered a way to jailbreak PS5 consoles. Jailbreaking, as the name implies, is when a user overrides a piece of hardware's original programming. Jailbreaking can allow the illegal distribution of digital games, but is also theoretically opens the door for game backups, homebrew support. Ironically, the method discovered in January this year required using a random physical Star Wars game. Anyway, 6 months later, the scene has exploded. Hackers have devised a number of jailbreaks for PS5 consoles, especially those running early firmwares. Sony's recent PS5 announcement was understandably made a lot of people upset. Some have responded to the anger by declaring they'll no longer support Sony products. Others are expressing their anger by turning to piracy. According to Google, as of writing, the searches for the terms PS5 jailbreak have risen about 20% in the last 24 hours. Numerous videos focusing on PS5 jailbreak scenes or jailbreak tutorials have attracted comments from the past few days, referencing Sony's digital pivot. Over on the PS5 jailbreak subreddit, weekly visitors have gone up by 10,000 since late May, and prices for those Star Wars game reportedly used to enable the jailbreak has risen on eBay as well. Should this be expected a move by consumers?
Well, yeah, it's like a market kind of good marketing for Assassin's Creed Black Flag coming out this week. Yeah, it definitely it makes. I don't know if it's a good move. It's a silly move. Like, it happens, but it is what it is. If people want to turn to it, sure, turn to it. But then at the same time, that's how video games do die.
If nobody's buying video games and everybody's pirating it, then studios can't run. Yeah. So.
You are risking people's. So if you are suggesting that you paying not necessarily even paying more, but you having to buy something digitally over physically is worth somebody else losing their job, that's a bit shit.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the people, especially on Twitter and that, who are like, as soon as something goes wrong, I'm going to steal it. I'm going to pirate it. I feel like they wanted to, and this was just an excuse. So, also on PlayStation news, PlayStation 3 and Vita stores will be coming to a close. After 2 decades of supporting PS3 console generation, we want to let you know that we will be closing the PlayStation Store on PS3 as well as PS Vita. PlayStation Store on PS3 will close in select markets starting this year, followed by global closures for PS3 and PS Vita next year. That means new content purchases will no longer be possible once the PlayStation Stores close on those devices. To ease the transition, players will still be able to download previously purchased content after the closing date for the foreseeable future. And it seems, at least here in Australia, that will not be till the end, or July 2027. Everyone will close here. Really, I'm surprised it was still open at this point. We've seen a lot of other digital storefronts close. I don't know how many people. I'm sure there are an amount of people, but
it would be amazing
gut
to
feel
see,
is that surely there aren't that many people.
It'd be like, how many people are buying Vita games per day?
Okay. Yeah.
How many people are buying PS3 games per day? Come on, they can't be
on the store.
Yeah, on the store. Yeah, exactly.
And guess what? You can buy physical versions of those.
You can go buy it physically if you wanted to, 100%.
Yeah. All right. There's that. Let's talk about Xbox, and it seems like not great news on that front either. With the latest, obviously, I think with Dylan, we talked about the reports that what was it? South of Midnight creators, Compulsion Games, Double Fine, Ninja Theory, and also Undead Labs were all on the chopping block as potential studios that were either up for sale or about to be shut down. But now it looks like some other studios are on the list. Rumors about Microsoft's imminent mass layoff seem to get worse every day. As per The Verge, Microsoft is reportedly considering shutting down Arcane Studios, best known for the acclaimed Dishonored series, Deathloop, and Prey. Xbox would also be cancelling Arcane's upcoming game based on the Marvel character Blade. Microsoft is reportedly set to announce widespread layoffs at its Xbox studios next week. According to The Verge's sources, Marvel's Blade was originally supposed to debut later this year, but its internal shipping date slipped to late 2027. Is also reportedly running over budget. Kieran, how do you feel about Arcane possibly being shut down?
That's what you get for making a PlayStation exclusive, idiots. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
They didn't get shut down until they started making Xbox games.
Yeah, but it was
Literally.
the last straw.
You know,
last straw, buddy.
Like, oh, we want Redfall, and then
last straw, buddy, old pal. No, yeah, it sucks. It's I think there's much more. Like I can
there's
say,
so
like
much more.
it's awful. It's look, the frustrating thing about Arcane, about Compulsion, about Tim Schafer's studio, that name is slipping me.
Double Fine.
Double Fine, thank you. Is there was like when they were first all kind of brought in, purchased, maybe not Arcane, but definitely Compulsion, and said, hey, like this is where I remember like Phil Spence coming and bringing me and say, hey, we don't need them to make AAA blockbuster games. We want them to make art. We want them to go out and win us awards. We want them to go and make things that are special to both them and to us. And now Microsoft's like, oh, no. We need you to make money. We can't have you do that art thing. That award thing doesn't actually pay the bills. Sorry, guys. And it fucking sucks. It is awful. It's so funny. I feel like we watched Xbox gather the infinity stones of video game studios, but then never use it, or because it's video game development, took too long for them to take effect, and this is the downfall of that. Is that they got too greedy, they took on too much, they built too big, and now people who have come in and wanting to make Xbox profitable, wanting to make Xbox sustainable, the first thing to do that is to get rid of some of these. Whether that's them purchasing themselves and making themselves independent, whether that's somebody else buying them. Microsoft doesn't care as long as it's gone and it's not their problem anymore.
Yep. Yeah, it just kind of seems like we've had the wool pulled over our eyes with this Ashish Sharma swap. Like, they put all the good news out front. They filled us full of sugar, and then all this bad news is coming on the back of it, and it looks like they are just trying to get in the black. Like, that kind of seems like what it is. They're going to cut as many people as they need to. Obviously, the Microsoft across the board has been the studio with the most layoffs over the last few years. So seeing more studios, I think, going is crazy. Also on the back of this, it was also announced that the 007, the IO Interactive game that they were co-developing with Xbox, or with support of Xbox, Project Fantasy, that third-party deal has seemed to be discontinued. It's not 100% sure. It seems like there will be closures at IO based on that fact, just because of loss of funding, but it seems like at least they still own that IP and are continuing to work on it, but that is another...
I feel so bad for IO, right? I've never seen an IO in their moment of success have some of their biggest, stumblings. They go from releasing First Light, which is critically acclaimed, everybody loves it. Within that space, we have Amazon Game Studio saying, hey, we're not going to use IO for the next Bond game. We're going to do that in-house. We've got Xbox saying, hey, we're actually on Project Fantasy with IO. We're not taking part in that anymore. So they're going to... I feel like when they should be celebrating, they are in damage control and trying to prevent anything drastic from happening to them.
Yeah. Not great. And then finally on Xbox front was an interesting little piece here, reading from Eurogamer. Microsoft might have hit pause on signing any more third-party Game Pass deals, presuming it's doing it while restructuring Xbox, as reported to be doing. But will it open the checkbook after that? The news comes from former Raw Fury sales and business development officer Fernando Rizzo, talking on a podcast he co-hosts called The Business of Video Games. Rizzo was at a trade show in Italy recently and heard that word on the street was that loads of people who were in frame for Game Pass deals, i.e. nothing had been inked yet, but deals were in advanced discussions. Everybody got the rug pull from them under them. I don't think Game Pass is over, given that the new leadership have talked a lot about Game Pass. I think they're on pause. I think they're figuring it out. That's my read anyway. For the time being, it seems like Game Pass deals. We just did one at Caboodle earlier this year, and I get the feeling we might have been one of the last ones that did. So potentially there could be a lot less third-party games available on Game Pass going forward, from the sound of it, which maybe doesn't look. Maybe the price cut doesn't look as good now if there's less games available.
It doesn't, but again, this is kind of what people have been saying has been bad for a long time in video games, and they're finally doing something about it. Like everybody says, "Oh, Xbox Game Pass can't be this big and can't be doing this many deals and yada yada yada. It's bad for the industry." Cool. Now it's stopping. You can't complain about it now it's stopping because people complain about it. They wanted it to stop, so it stopped. We've got to deal with the outcome of that and the fallback.
But you've already killed the industry. No.
No, but now it's the thing.
Damage has already been done.
So these develop, and this is, I put this back on gamers again. You whingy bunch of fucks. These studios now that no longer going to be on Game Pass, that normally are on Game Pass, you better go fucking buy their game. Fucking day one, no sale. Pre-order that shit. If there's a digital deluxe edition, you pay for that shit. Because it's because of you and you whiny little fucks that Game Pass is smaller and not providing for them anymore. Fucking gamers, man.
Yeah, it's just a sad week for everybody in video games in every corner of the game industry, so. All right, let's move on to another story that is neutral, I guess. Netflix is developing a live-action series based on the Persona video game franchise. Variety has learned from sources. Christopher Monfetti is attached to write the adaptation, in addition to serving as executive producer and showrunner. Sean Levy, Dan Levine, and Robert Atwood of 21 Labs will also executive produce with Dimitri M. Johnson. Persona has been proven to be a wildly popular RPG franchise. While the plot varies game to game, they typically focus on Japanese high school students who must go through normal daily routines and build and maintain friendships while also dealing with supernatural threats. Kieran, what do you think about a live-action Persona series, and is there a particular game that you think they would be smart to tackle?
I think they could just do their own. I think Persona is smart enough just to. You could use a Persona name, take on the aesthetic, take on the personas, because every Persona title is a different story, a different link. Like I think it has to be something fresh. It can't be a redo of any of the games.
So do a brand new version of Persona. Just take the conceit.
Yep.
Interesting. I think that would be hella risky.
I think it'd be hella risky.
I feel like
if anything to do it, like even Persona fans we're already at that point of doing it, because it is every Persona. You start off learning new people. You start getting into the story. No, like sure, the overarching mechanics of maybe the Personas is the same, but one has them ripping off a mask off their face to summon their Persona. Another one has them putting a gun to their temple and pulling the trigger. Like there's Persona's Persona. As long as it is dark, it is tackling real world traumas and real world stories. I can't see there anything wrong with it.
I would assume they're going to adapt one of the 3 most recent games. But my worry, obviously, is being done by Netflix, is being written by a American writer. Are they going to try and...
That's my worry. That's my worry. It's like, why the fuck are we not doing this like it's an anime? Why aren't we just...
if you're going to do it, you need to set in Japan. Like, sure, you can get English-speaking Japanese people if you want. But if you're going to adapt one of the games, it needs to be set in Japan. I feel like because that is such a crucial element of each of the stories, I think it would be a terrible move to try and adapt it but move it to America or somewhere else in the world, So, in my mind, 5 would make the most sense. Obviously, it's the most popular. Like stylistically, it's got its own tone and all that kind of stuff. That would be a good one to directly adapt to live action. Obviously, I think they've got such strong stories, it makes it sense to just purely just adapt it, bring it to live action. I believe all of them have had an anime version as well, so like it's not like it hasn't been told in that format before. So, yeah, we'll wait and see how that one pans out. Who knows? Finally, final story for this week is really just a PSA for all the people in your lives who are recovering League of Legends people. People who have fallen off, have gotten back to being functioning people in society, that kind of stuff. League of Legends Classic announced by Riot Games after a flood of leaks. Riot Games is working on a new/old version of its 16-year-old MOBA League of Legends called League of Legends Classic. News comes after a flash of leaks in which data miners revealed that the existence of League of Legends Classics and which champions which will be playable in the game. League of Legends Classics reveal video doesn't say much about the game itself. Instead, it shows Riot trying to figure out what exactly a classic version of the game would be. Would it be a particular season trapped in the amber, a specific build of the game, or a set of champions with a kit from many years ago, a beta build based on a live-action trailer? Based on the live-action trailer, the answer is yes, all of that. Based on what League of Legends executive producer Paul Beliza says in the video, it sounds like Riot's plan is to deliver a classic experience that might be fluid, letting players decide which version of the game they consider classic. If so, Riot would be taking a different approach from companies like Blizzard Entertainment, which released World of Warcraft Classic to give players a taste of the game's early days. Kieran, should we be concerned that a certain member of the Explosion Network could fall back into his shirt-ripping days?
I don't think so. It's a cool idea though. But WoW Classic, we saw success with WoW Classic.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be cool if they start if they go back and do patches where they go do the original patches for periods of times and go from there. It'll be interesting because some stuff was busted and some stuff did need to be fixed. So it'll be interesting to see if there's a hybrid where they fix some of the stuff that was bad and needed to be fixed up or what.
Yeah, I think the problem that they have is what they said in the video is, what do people consider the classic version of League of Legends? And if they're trying to fit all of that into the one game, how is that possible? What is matchmaking going to be like and all that kind of stuff? How many people are going to want to go back and not play the current build of the game? Is there a big enough audience? It's very intriguing, So, but yeah, we will be keeping an eye on Dylan. See the telltale signs like him not showing up and him watching less stuff and screaming on the internet, that kind of stuff. So we'll see. All right, that's everything on this week's Arcade Couch. Let us know what you thought about anything we talked about on this episode, including what your thoughts are on physical media dying and the video game industry dying, by going to explosionnetwork.com/follow. Let us know on social media. If you want to help us out here at Arcade Couch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser. Leave us 5 stars. You can leave 5 stars. Just help about the show. And if you want to help us at Explosion Network with one of the other podcasts you may have listened to instead of listening to this one, go over to explosionnetwork.com/support. You're right, Kieran.
There's normally a third guy here.
Yes, Dylan is usually here, but again, he has decided to leave us in the lurch. He saw all the bad news, and he's like, "No, I don't want to. I'm gonna wash my hands of this. Don't want to deal with it.
He wasn't
you two
here
be the bearers
last
of bad
week
news.
either.
You guys say weird stuff on the internet that gets people really upset." I don't know if you saw this on one of the YouTube videos from last week about you talking about how you're going to change your setup for GTA 6. Someone was like, "It's people like this that have allowed these companies to become so greedy." You don't need all that stuff. So yes, Dylan has thrown us to the wolves again.
What a piece of shit.
All right. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you here same time, same couch. Bye.